with issues back from the United States. So I would have to do death notifications with the military. I would help with issues of conflict with other soldiers and contractors and agencies, dealing with all the issues that one might expect could come up in various parts of a war zone. I was often sent to what are called FOBs. Those are forward observation bases, generally about 100 people, more or less, in those bases, multi-international. And I was also sent to COPs, COPs, combat outposts, very remote, in the middle of nowhere, on mountainsides where you walk up goat trails just to get to where your small base is. And the billets were often cots in tents that were erected on rocks and no electricity, quite remote. And I was on many, many dismounted patrols with the belief that having a psychologist or someone psychologically trained to deal with what it's like to be in a war zone would be therapeutic, if not therapeutic, explainable, and helpful. I did many of those events.
At some point, did I ask you to become involved to some degree in this case, Doctor?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury when that was?
I received a phone call from Attorney Reddington late in the evening on February 3rd, 2023. It was late because I was already in bed sleeping. The phone rang. It was about 11:30. And
without getting into the details, did I advise you that I was representing a young woman by the name of Lindsay Clancy and that she was severely injured and she was in a hospital?
Yes.
As a result of that, what did you do?
That next morning, I went to Brigham and Women's Hospital, went to the front desk where one would normally check in, and there was a woman there who I felt was a volunteer. I explained who I was. I explained that I was asked by Attorney Reddington to evaluate Ms. Clancy on the surgical ICU unit.
Were you able to access her to speak to her?
Eventually, yes.
And when you say eventually, what's the time frame we're talking?
I was initially told I couldn't go. I had to wait 30 minutes. Attorney Reddington called the chief counsel of the hospital to enable me to have access to the unit where Ms. Clancy was staying.
When was it that you were able to get into the unit to see her?
12:30 in the afternoon.
What day?
February 4th.
So it would be January 24th, 7, so this is almost
11 days
later, right?
Yes.
You're also aware that I needed a court order to get you into the hospital.
That's correct.
And were you able to ultimately get in the hospital, go to the surgical unit, and meet with Lindsay?
Yes.
Jurors have had a chance to look at photographs of her laying in the bed with tubes and wires and all of that. Is that what she looked like when you first saw her?
Yes. However, she was also, with her right arm, as I recall, shackled to the bed with handcuffs.
So they're not little soft little things that tie her hands to the side of the bed, but they're handcuffs?
They weren't soft. They were regular, but appeared to be metal handcuffs that police officers and perhaps officers in this court use for detaining people and arresting people. So, they were not soft.
While she's laying in the bed, did she have the tubes and the wires for treatment in the emergency, the intensive care unit, I should say?
Yes.
Was she intubated at that point, if you recall?
She was not.
So she was able to speak?
Yes.
Was she able to move obviously she's chained to the bed, so she couldn't get up?
She could not get up. She couldn't move below her sternum, the chest bone.
At that point, had you and I met and talked about this case at all?
No.
What was the reason I asked you to go to the hospital?
You are worried about her mental health, given the significant event that had just taken place a few days earlier. You were concerned that she had absolutely no ability to have visitors. Visitors were not permitted to meet with her, from family members to friends to a priest. No one was able to see her.
So as a result of that conversation we had, you went to the hospital, went into her room, and you were able to speak to her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell the jurors, if you recall, what type of law enforcement presence? Uniform cops, guns, stuff like that. What did you notice?
I noticed literally outside of her hospital room were 2 state troopers in their blue uniforms, sitting each in a chair on either side of the doorway to Ms. Clancy's room, with a nurse sitting in the corner of her room.
When you went in to see her on that date, was it your understanding she had recently been extubated? In other words, they removed the tube from her mouth?
Yes.
And do you recall the conversation that you had with Lindsay at that time?
Yes, I did.
Tell the jurors what your memory is.
The conversation I had with Ms. Clancy at that time was one where I asked if she knew where she was. So I did what's called a mental status exam, a brief mental status exam. It's orientation to time, place, location. She didn't know where she was. Wasn't quite sure what time it was. She knew who she was. And she told me that she remembers what happened, but it was very fuzzy and foggy. At the time, she had been on medication for the significant pain post-surgery while in that hospital room.
And during the course of that interview with her, did she express any concern to you about her husband, Patrick?
Yes, she did.
Tell the jurors what she indicated to you.
She said, since 11 days prior to my meeting with her, which would have been January 24th, 2023, she had no contact with Patrick. She wanted to know how he was doing. She wanted to know if she could call him and find out where things are with her and with him and how he was faring, and to just speak with him.
She expressed concern about her family.
Yes, she did.
Did she express concern about what had happened?
Yes.
Did she ask you, or did you offer to her the ability to speak to her husband, Patrick?
She asked me if she could use my cell phone to call her husband.
Did she do that?
Yes, she did.
Did you hear the conversation?
Yes, I told her we'd call. It would have to be on speakerphone.
And tell us about that conversation.
So that first phone call, I believe on the 24th, he did not pick up. She left a message. I did not leave a message. We then called back 2 days later on the 6th.
And after the 2 days had transpired and the call was made on the 6th, did she have a chance to talk to Patrick?
Yes.
Were you there?
Yes.
Was she still chained to the bed?
Yes.
Were the cops still outside the room?
Yes, not in blues. They were in civilian clothing, jeans, flannel shirts.
And tell us what she said to Patrick in your presence on the speakerphone at that point.
She had told Patrick that she loved him very much. She was unable to express a lot of emotion, but she expressed love for him. And she had said that she heard a male voice ordering her, telling her that she didn't have any choice, but she had to kill her children and then kill herself.
Now, doctor, have in mind your background, your career, Did you tell Lindsay Clancy to lie or make that up and pretend that she was hearing voices?
No.
Do you have any conversation or any suggestions to her at all that she should say she heard voices or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Why did you let her call her husband on your cell phone?
I let her call her husband out of human compassion.
As time went by, did I then, oh, by the way, you've testified for me on other matters, have you not?
Yes.
We go back about 20 years?
Yes.
And we socialized together?
Yes.
So we're friends?
Yes.
And as you worked on the case, can you tell the jurors what information you had access to that would allow you to continue with your investigation as a psychologist?
I had access to her clinical records. Many of that were discussed here. Emergency room records, grand jury minutes. With the longitudinal nature of my evaluation, I had records from Brigham and Women's, South Shore, Spalding Hospital, and most recently, Duxbury Hospital, which go back to, I believe, March 27th or so, 2023 till today.
How many times have you seen Lindsay since that day in January of 24?
So I've met with 2023. I've met with Ms. Clancy over 45 times since then, and that was at the writing and the issuance of my report to Attorney Reddington. That was in the middle of June, and I've seen Ms. Clancy since then 20 times probably, or 15, inclusive of being in this courtroom and sometimes meeting with her in the holding unit.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in Duxbury Hospital many of those times, right?
Yes.
And you've had occasion to visit with her in the lockup to this courthouse, correct?
Yes.
And she's been treated very well by everybody, the court officers, everybody, is that correct?
Objection. Relevance.
Yeah, that's sustained.
Well, you've had a chance to see her in the lockup, right?
Yes.
Why would
No, overruled.
why would you see her in the lockup?
I would see Lindsay Clancy in lockup because the nature of presentation in this court has been gut-wrenching for anyone who would be exposed to such horrific
Objection and move to strike. It's not responsive to the question.
All right. Can I see counsel here?
I'll withdraw it.
All right, so that answer, ladies and gentlemen, that answer is stricken.
In
Okay.
Duxbury Hospital, have you had to see her to evaluate her in addition to your testimony for a jury?
yes.
Why?
Because the nature of mental health is something that's not a static or what we consider historical piece of information. Static information means a date of birth. That's never going to change. Dynamic issues are things that are subject to change, like the weather, like your health, like your mood. So to do an evaluation for a case that Ms. Clancy's involved in, which is a triple homicide case,